Okay, thank you. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. I'm Malicious. I'm Stella. So Malicious on Twitter if you don't already follow me and you like shit posting and occasional infosec stuff that I retweet. You can also, that's my email as well. So if after the talk you have anything that you'd like to, any abuse you'd like to throw or questions or comments, then more than happy to discuss and take abuse. So who am I and why should you care? Very briefly, before I tell you what I'm going to be talking about. This was a tweet that was directed at me that apparently I'm busy talking about current affairs. Well, I do shit post as well. So, and to garner a position in InfoSec, well, I'm freelance, so I've already got one, bitch. And despite being devoid of requisite skills, I can shit post and post cat gif with the best of them. All right. So I have the requisite skills for InfoSec. Thank you very much. So why is this talk important? It's important to me because we're talking about, and it relates to this as well, whether the internet is a safe space, and talking about particularly privacy for people when the threat model is in the home or in the inner circle. And we tend to design privacy and privacy options and platforms and apps and services around a threat model that's external. So a breach or malware or something like that. We forget that we need to design as well for people who have seen the worst of life. And we should be designing our privacy with people who have seen the worst of life, with the threat model of the Syrian dissident, which is what one Silicon Valley company designs its or used to until very recently design its privacy for. So people who need encrypted services, people who need access to private messaging and things like that, where their identity is protected and their communications are protected, but they're not necessarily that tech savvy. Okay. And who are these groups? Who are the targeted groups? A targeted group could be any of us. It could be you or me today, tomorrow. I hope it isn't. The people I work with often, I volunteer with, and it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this talk, are often victims of domestic abuse. So they clearly have an issue. They need to escape from that, and so they have privacy needs throughout that. And I'll talk about this during the talk, but they have varying needs and evolving privacy needs. So those kind of people, but anybody who can be in danger, and I mean when their mental health might be in danger or their physical health might be in danger. So you can have somebody who you need to escape, or who maybe you're not going to be able to escape them that quickly, but because you're a teenager and they're your parent or your auntie or uncle or somebody or your guardian, but they're monitoring your communications. And so maybe they can have physical access to you and hurt you, or they can bully you, access your devices and find out who you're messaging and impact you like that. So it could be you're a teenager and you're exploring your sexuality in a very, very conservative area. Again, you could be a political activist in certain places around the world. Really anybody. And we used to call them, we still do sometimes call them vulnerable groups or at-risk groups. I prefer the term targeted groups because I think it gives them more agency and more power. These people are victims as such, but they're not defenseless, powerless people. They're people who we need to just give them the power to protect themselves and help them out a bit. And also, this talk, I was inspired for it a little bit because people tell me a lot of their secrets. And I keep the secrets, but people come to me a lot. And often it's to do with people who are having affairs or who are managing some sort of private or slightly illicit relationship, whether it might be business or personal. And often I'll say to them, well, how are you? So I've got a friend in the UK and he's having a relationship with somebody, and I said, well, how are you communicating? And he's doing it all by SMS. And I said, well, that's a bit dangerous, because, that's all going to come out in court if you get subpoenaed. And he said, oh, well, I said, can't you use at least WhatsApp? Or can't you use Signal? All these kind of things. And I gave him this list and I sent him the apps, and he won't do it because there's no reason for him to have any of those apps on his phone or his device. And so a lot of people are like this. They'll say, well, I can't install WhatsApp because I can't install Signal because somebody who I live with, my husband, my partner, my auntie, whoever else, my friend, they will see my phone on my device. And people do share access to devices. People do have relationships aware that other people share access, or they gain access, or they expect access to people's devices, regardless of what we think and how we behave as security professionals. And so if you do have something as we think, well, WhatsApp, what's the big deal with that? Signal, what's the big deal with that? It's a big deal for somebody who's who has to explain that and doesn't have any kind of business or personal use for it. It sounds weird to us maybe, but it happens a lot. And that happens a lot with the people I deal with who are victims of domestic abuse as well. And so leading on from that, this is the scariest question that they get asked. And the Twitter handle down there is for OSPA. They work with victims of domestic abuse and help them. If you're interested in working with them, or even people like EFF, there are resources at the end of this. I've got a slide here at the end, but they're really worth working with because they do need people to help them develop strategies and volunteer with them to advise people. And so this is the scariest question. And if you can imagine that being a scary question, why are you smiling? That's not really a scary question for most of us, I hope. But it is if you're in an abusive relationship or if somebody in your inner circle is watching you. Now, that might just be because you're walking around the house and you're happy. But what if it's because you're looking at a device? How quickly can somebody get that off you? Is it locked down? Is it going to be easy for them to then get that device? If they're going to get their phone off you, how quick are they going to be able to open everything else up? Is it an automatic lock? Has it got 2FA on it? Because Signal only recently was lockable. On mobile devices, you could still open it. And even if you've got deleting chats, the fact that you've got deleting chats is a bit of an issue for somebody who's controlling, who's this? Who's S on your phone? Why have you got 5-second timer on the phone? What are you talking about? That's a big deal. Okay, so if you can imagine, this is why we need to design privacy for these kind of people, and we don't. We design with the threat model of the white dude who works in California, who works in Cupertino and is driving his Tesla to work. Okay, the threat model of the lion on the Serengeti instead of the mouse. Yeah, these people are the edge case, not the use case, and we need to reverse that. Because what happens is we reverse it. We only think about people when something goes wrong. We think about Twitter and trolls or Facebook and things like that, and it's only when somebody commits suicide or somebody gets stalked and harassed and there's a problem, there's a murder or a really serious attack, and then we all wring our hands and say, oh no, what happened? What could it possibly be? Oh, actually, if we'd just designed these things with a few privacy options, which I'll explain soon. So we say dance like nobody's watching, don't we? But of course, if you're in a targeted group, somebody is watching, just like this. This is my favorite slide. So I always tell people, this is what I told my friend. You have to know that you just have to hope Google is never going to testify in court against you. Let's hope Google never tells the insurance company how often you use your phone when you're driving, and message like it will be read out in a deposition, because for some of these people it will be. So this is my big thing. We're designing everything according to these heteronormative models where we are being told what is good and what is bad. And so when you have forums, like a Discord chat or an Instagram moderator, these aren't necessarily people who are trained in victim support or in counselling or therapy or identifying patterns of bullying or anything. These are people who are, for a start, they might have algorithms that check for things or certain images, but tech isn't agnostic, it's not neutral. So it's always designed and then controlled by somebody. Okay, and monitored by somebody. There's a human bias to that. Okay, and then we had the situation last week where Instagram, some of their moderation guidelines were released, and it's really down to, well, if there's a nipple, if somebody's on a beach, that's fine, But, if they're breastfeeding, if it's BDSM, what constitutes BDSM and that kind of thing. And why is that good? What's good and what's bad? If it's between two consenting adults, then what's the problem? So who decides what that problem is? And what we're doing at the moment is we reinforce these, if it's between a man and a woman, they're married, it's absolutely fine. But otherwise, and we get this, and you can see it reinforced all the way through. And so that happens. If you have a Venn diagram, you would have that as a circle. You have the individual kind of in here making their own privacy decisions as well. And, whether or not they're able to make those decisions. Sometimes we're forced into these decisions. Do you want to sign up to this, or do you want to miss out? Do you want to sign up? Green button. Do you not want to? Red button. It's all very glossy, and they make you sign up to things. And then you have society as a whole, the bigger circle, smaller circle, the individual, and then a slightly bigger circle than the individual is your immediate surrounding group who affect you as well. And I'll show you how this, I'll go on to explain a little bit more how this works. So for the good and the bad, my country, the UK, we've got this thing coming up now where they're going to access some adult sites, you're going to have to give your ID. Now, there's ways around this with a VPN and stuff like that. The average 13-year-old is more than motivated to find out. Or 9-year-old, to be honest with you. But, there's a bigger issue, and we laugh about it, because it's porn and it's sex, and isn't it funny? But actually, who decides what's bad? Because this isn't for every single, porn site. This is only for adult sites that show certain content. So who decides what's good and who decides what's bad? Now, obviously, if it's between consenting adults. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes, that's true. When they love each other very, very much. That's true. Oh no. Is that how it happens? Damn. Okay. So, big shout out to Marley here, because she said she's always, if you don't follow her on Twitter as well, definitely do, because she's really positive. That's what I think what I'm trying to say is that we don't have the choice. We don't have the right to say that somebody's good or bad. Okay? We are all resplendent red pandas as long as we're, consenting and we're not doing anything, illegal or bad. Like something, terrorist, that kind of thing. That's fine. Apart from that, really, you can do what you want. I don't care. I really don't care what you're doing. But some people do. Okay? Like this person. And I thought about putting in an actual clip of the talk, but he annoys me so much. Oh dear God, he triggers me. Okay? So this always happens before I do a talk. Mark Zuckerberg comes up on stage and does something. And a couple of weeks ago, he launched that dating service on Facebook. God give me strength. Where do I start? So for a start, the way he launched, and I really, if you want to understand about bias in tech and where I'm coming from with heteronormative models, please go and find that online. I just couldn't bear to put it in my talk. Okay. Because he starts giggling. When he's talking, we're going to launch a dating service. Isn't it funny? And everybody's like, yeah, Facebook. I could barely trust Ashley Madison, Tinder or Grindr with my stuff. Now I'm going to trust Facebook. Hell no. Okay. Secondly, and the most important thing, apart from the puerile giggles and the frat boy stuff, is just really, it's not for hookups. Apparently, it's only for single people. Well, I'm on Facebook, but my marital status isn't on Facebook. It never has been, because I just have never wanted to go for that whole twee kind of inner relationship. It's complicated. I hate him. I wish he was dead. I've just been arrested by the police for death threats. Oh God. That whole process. Why is it only for single people? Who gauges whether or not you're single? Right? What are they going to do? They're going to ask for your marriage certificate. Or your SSN. How are they going to know that? And also, why are hookups bad? Why is Mark Zuckerberg allowed to tell me that a hookup is bad? And what is a hookup? Yeah, I don't want to know. I mean, I don't want you to tell me. I'm just saying that you can put a value judgment on people. So a hookup for him, I guess, is, oh, well, it's a one night stand. Woohoo! Very bad. But, we all know people who have multiple partners who don't tell them about each other. And this goes on for years, damn it. That's not a hookup, but I wouldn't say necessarily that was fair or kind in the Mark Zuckerberg morality clause kind of way. So let's just think about that. And he had wild applause when he announced this. Why do you think he had wild applause? Oh, I can't think. Yeah, he paid for it, probably. Woohoo, Mark, great. Well, probably because he was surrounded by people who vastly generally look like this. Yeah. But I don't know, the non-hookup crew. So yeah, the internet is not a safe space. The internet, tech isn't scary. The internet isn't scary. Yeah, by all means, we tell the end users that. I'm not after creating FUD or all the rest of it, but we have to accept that for a large amount of people, the internet is not a safe space for them. They're told they're bad. You might be told you're bad if you go to the UK and try and access porn. Yeah? And that might not make you feel very good about yourself. There's people who get attacked because they're trans, because they're gay, because they're bisexual, because they're a woman, because they're a man, because, I don't know, whatever. Because their cat gif wasn't cute enough. Okay? I don't know. So, and here, I did just make a comment about men. And I do on Twitter talk about white men quite a bit and how they need to just, up their game a bit, but white women too, please, up your game. So this is Hot Dudes Reading, and it's it was still live last week, as well as tubecrush.net. And these are two UK sites. I try not to abuse the US too much because I'm on a visa. You can go on to yeah. So I try and I love America, God bless America, bald eagles and shit. So did you hear that? Thank you. Yeah, NSA, thank you. So you can click on any of these pictures and they will tell you, about where these dudes are, where these men are, not at any given time, but on their commute, right? And I don't have to tell anybody in this room how easy it is to get data on somebody and to find them through facial recognition. Yeah? So if any of these people were sort of in a witness protection program or at the worst, but just trying to escape a difficult situation, yeah, if any of them had real privacy, you're basically violating their privacy. Thank you very much. And it's really not on. We don't have the right to do that, and this is where it comes where the Venn diagram, sorry, just put this down, comes in earlier, because this is how, as a society, we place a value on what's acceptable and what's not. And the website itself and TubeCrush as well say, they defend it. They say, we've had complaints about this, but we think it's really, it's okay. It's flattering. And it's, it's validating for people to be on this site. No, it isn't. Because if you're on there and you have a right as a person to go on the tube in the morning or on the metro, on the bus, and not have your, where you're getting on, where you're getting off, what you're wearing, what times you're on there, that kind of thing. That's basically stalking, and it's not funny. And we see stalking as funny sometimes. We laugh about it. And then, like I said before, it's not until something really bad happens. Women stalk men just as much as men stalk women, okay? It's a two-way street, right? How do we know these guys aren't going to get followed home and stuff like that, and then something awful happens? It's just not good. And if any of these people were escaping or trying to escape a threat that they had in their inner circle, that would be, this is not right. They could be discovered and they could be found. And we know that this happens as well because a lot of people on Facebook share these, missing person things as well. You could just create a missing person alert on your own, and people believe it because they want to help. It's the reciprocity, isn't it? And then they share it, and then the person's found really quickly, and they're not actually a missing person. They're fleeing for their life. And that happens a lot. And so as a society, we have to accept that we need to value privacy more, that privacy is a right. And I get very cross with people that say, privacy's gone. What even is privacy? And to an extent, sometimes I say that I despair when I look at Facebook. But we do still have a right to privacy. And we do still have to honor and value integrity in amongst ourselves, because that's what makes us human. And when we share a photo or tell a secret, like I said at the start of my talk, when my friends tell me a secret, and I told you a story at the beginning, but I didn't tell you everything, and I altered quite a few details. So I wouldn't ever tell you, we know that there's trust. And so in the same way that, when people had the Ashley Madison breach, and I've seen several security talks where people joke about that. And, so they're asked to, put your hand up if you were involved in the Ashley Madison breach. I mean, people committed suicide because all their email addresses and stuff like that were spread across local newspapers in very conservative areas where the judgment was made upon them that was bad. And people felt that they could do that because it's bad to be having an affair, and so therefore I can print your name. But I can disagree with the morality of your decision without deciding. I can do that privately without, taking what you're doing and your name and details and throwing it across the internet forever. It's not for me to make that decision for you, to make that value judgment on you. Fine if you're trying to blow a bunch of people up, yeah, I'm going to stop you. All right. But apart from that. So we need locks and layers in our apps and services. And by that, I mean locks, literally locks. So, 2FA or just passcode locks, things like that. It would also be really useful if we could have decoy apps more often. There are set decoy apps, but those tend to be the ones taught to parents at schools so they can identify them. And we need things that actually decoy within the app that are new. So if Signal, for instance, could, act as itself, but if it could also act as like a horoscope or a shopping or a weather app, and there are apps that do that. There's a new app called Raven that does that, but unfortunately it involves blockchain as well, and it's still a little bit complicated to use, and I can't recommend it to the people I volunteer with, but that's the kind of thing. So when somebody gets your phone, if they're saying, "Why are you happy?" grabs your phone, the thing locks down, and then it looks like a weather app, and they can't get into it. And OSPA, who I mentioned at the beginning, they have an app now that's available in the App Store, but only on Android, not on Apple. Oh no, it is available on iOS. Yeah, it is. Sorry, I correct. It is available on Apple, and it's quotations, and so it looks like a quotation dictionary, and you have to sign in, which is fairly benign. But then when you get in there, it's a planner on how to escape an abusive relationship, and it has information on who to call, and it has literal planners that take you through in each stage of what to do. It's completely confidential, and if somebody tries to unlock that too many times, the entire app wipes. Yeah, and it took them a long time to get that through the Apple Store because of the way it's set up, and Apple didn't like it very much, but they did. And also with the layers thing, and I haven't really said why people. One of the things that annoys me as well, people say, "Why are people still using Facebook? They're stupid." Well, when you're in Turkey or Egypt, Facebook, and there was all the unrest, Facebook was one of the platforms that didn't get shut down. Facebook is one of the platforms that people can use when they're in abusive relationships and know it's benign, it looks normal. Nobody's going to say, "Why have you got that on your phone?" Because everybody's got Facebook. Yeah, but you can have secret groups and secret chats on there, and everybody has it, right? The only issue, so people aren't stupid when they have Facebook, and that's why they still use it. And we need to accept that as a community instead of just going, "Well, you're stupid," because even people who work at Facebook are gaslighting the users a bit, and you think, well, people have to use user, could you be nice? But it would be really useful if within Twitter and Facebook and other messaging and social media platforms that are very useful for people to stay in touch with certain groups as well. They're often, the reason I'm on Facebook is because a lot of my friends around the world only message through that platform. It's really annoying. But if I want to stay in touch with them and, see all their hashtag so blessed lying photos, then I have to stay on it. Okay. But it'd be really nice if I was trying to escape an abusive relationship, for instance, I can keep my profile because I don't want somebody to take that profile and impersonate me. Equally, if I delete it, I can no longer communicate with those people and see the hashtag so blessed I fed my kids kale today. Okay. So if you could, it would be really good if we could kind of have a possibility to layer it. So you don't really exist anymore on Facebook, but you're still there to certain people. Okay. Layer it down. And we haven't thought about that enough because Facebook's still one of those ones you have to have a surname. A family name. You have to, and now it's going to be, well, you can't use the dating profile unless you've put in your marital status. Please. So this is it's all things that help people on their way out of a relationship and out of a situation that might be dangerous. Okay. Because if you're, questioning your sexuality in a very conservative area, you might start doing that very young, and you have to wait till you reach the age of majority and have enough money to get out or the contacts to get out. So, what we say is please could we use empathy, and use empathy for privacy when we're thinking. So think about the people who haven't got the same lifestyle as you or me. And that means surrounding ourselves with people who don't look like ourselves. So audit our rooms. If you're on like a committee or doing something, developing anything or talking about privacy, look around you. And if everybody has the same background and is the same as you and looks the same as you, then I would strongly suggest that you change that and you reach out to other groups. And empathy is not blockchain. You can't just say it. It's not like diversity and inclusion. Yeah, it's not, yeah, empathy, yo. Can you even empathy, bro? Yeah. No, it's not blockchain. You don't sound cool. Yeah, just because you got to actually do it and show it. And, the problem's all of us, Becky. It's not just the white dudes. I do go on about white men a lot. But it's all of us. We have to accept that, we're not taking privacy seriously. We're saying that people don't have a right to privacy. I've seen that all across InfoSec Twitter. Oh, you don't, you're signing up to stuff. You give away your rights. What is even privacy anymore? I'm going to tag you in a photo. The fact that we set apps up where you have to deselect to be tagged. You should have to opt in. It should be like organ donorship. You should have to opt out. Yeah? That you should, there should be some things that should, and you shouldn't do like what Snapchat did like a year or so ago and just automatically do an update, reset everything, and then anybody can see where you are on a map. How many people do you think got caught out doing naughty things like that? There were quite a few. Okay. But even then it's your privacy. It's you in danger. And that shouldn't happen. We shouldn't just be sitting around. Who the hell thought of doing that update? I hope it wasn't anybody in this room. Okay. We'll just, make sure everybody can see all our users wherever they are in the world down to the actual street corner. That sounds fantastic. And their name and what they look like with their avatar. Oh, sounds great. Yeah, in it. Perfect. Except they probably didn't do it with a London accent because they're probably in California somewhere. Drinking La Croix and playing foosball somewhere. Okay? So here, look, see, I've breached my son's privacy there. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, all of them. Yeah. So we need to think about it. And when you're hearing people, if you're, on a developing team where you hear people who are doing it, just because you can do that doesn't mean you should. Please stop. Yeah. Keep, privacy as an option and design for life, but not just your life. Okay. And I use the example here, of the women's restroom lines, which always annoy me. And we know that gender-neutral restrooms are the way forward because people move through them a lot quicker, and the stalls tend to be bigger and everything else, and there's a whole circle, and it just works really well. But the reason why women's restroom lines are so long is because 90% of architects are men, and nobody ever thought to consult anybody about restroom lines. And that's why everywhere you go, and you'll notice it now, even if you didn't before, there's all these women or people who identify as women, standing in line waiting, trying not to die. And then the men just saunter in, don't they? But you see, I see that as a problem because I'm a woman, and that really, really annoys me. Okay? But, so I'm seeing it from my perspective, and that's something that I would like to see changed. So, if you're designing a building, I want to be on that committee because I want to sort the restrooms. Okay? But equally, somebody else is going to have, accessibility, things they want to talk about, or, they might have something with the canteen and the food, anything with lighting, especially for neurodiversity and things like that. Yes, fluorescent lighting is very bad for neurodiversity. I speak about that as well. So that's my one thing. But yeah, so just design for life and not just your life, because that would make it better for everybody, and particularly people who have a threat that's within their home and it's not just somebody breaching, Equifax data. And here are the resources. If you want to help, the top link there, you can't see it very well. I need to change those colours, actually. I should have known that. Openprivacy.ca is, Sarah Jamie Leslie runs that. She chairs that. And it's a relatively new non-profit, and it's based in Canada. And it's there to support people who are in need of privacy advice. So anybody between, international travelers such as yourselves who might need, information about, how to lock their phone down or their devices down when they're traveling, because that changes every 5 seconds, through to sex workers, through anybody at all. And it's really worth donating. And they have a lot of information. It's going to be increasing there. And then, there's some authors there and some other information about bias in tech, and just general kind of thinking about other people and privacy needs. Thank you very much.